if you got punched by Terry Crews and you go down wrong, that guy wouldn't got up again. Hey, how you doing? Let's get into it. So we did a video about Chris Rock's mum responding to Slapgate. Now we've found another story on Atlanta Black Star where it's an interview, a snippet of an interview with Terry Crews, who we know from past situations. He knows what it's like to be in a situation where he's been physically assaulted and he has made a decision, a choice, whether to retaliate or to keep his cool. I think in that story, he was grabbed by an executive in a personal space and he showed restraint. And I remember him being mocked about it. Remember when executive grabbed him in the private areas, and he's a big man. Yeah. He's a muscular man. I wouldn't pick a fight with I wouldn't certainly be slapping Terry Crews. Oh no. With those muscles and all that kind of, stuff going on. But his wife, hey no baby. His wife did what many people think that Jada should have done. It's like, it's okay, baby, it's cool. This ain't gonna go well. You a big strapping black man assaulting, and the guy who's the Hollywood executive was white and quite powerful. If you make a scene here, we know who's gonna get dragged by the police, regardless of what went down. And people called him a simp, people called him weak. Do you remember that? People just dragged him for that.
Yeah, I think for him to be dragged like that was so embarrassing for him because he didn't punch a guy. I guess it's like, you a simp, are you weak or something? And it's obviously he's got a supportive wife. His wife's like, no, I don't want you to do that. Hold back. Because if he'd retaliated, that would have been even worse.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can't win really.
They ain't coming in cuffs for the Hollywood white executive,
exactly.
Are they? However big Terry Crews is, look out the people called in for the police to drag Will Smith.
Exactly.
And again, we agree that that was wrong, what Smith did, but you've got people like Ezra Miller and they are only, who knows what they have been up to that we don't hear about because they're being protected by the Hollywood studios. But anyway, if you read the story, so what we have, we actually literally have Terry Crews talking about Slapgate and what his take on it is.
Yeah, so a source from Atlanta Black Star says, Terry Crews says Chris Rock saved Hollywood following Oscar's slap, claims he's done worse than Will Smith. Actor Terry Crews is Switzerland when it comes to his two pals, Will Smith and Chris Rock, following their physical exchange at the 94th Annual Academy Awards on Sunday, March 27th. While out promoting his new memoir, Tough, out later this week, the White Chick star praised the longtime comedian for keeping his composure during the shocking moment while also showing sympathy to Smith, noting that he's done worse than the King Richard star. Both Will and Chris Rock are dear friends of mine, Crews told The Hollywood Reporter during a recent interview. I love them both as brothers, but there was a time in my life where Will was Will at that moment. And let me tell you, I've done worse than Will. Way overkill, just. The punishment did not fit the crime. In his new book, Crews talks about some of those altercations and the regret that settled in later, while forced him to reevaluate his reaction to certain situations. He told the interviewer last week, I literally had no control. The Brooklyn 5'9" star said his responses started changing after he was allegedly sexually assaulted by a former WME agent. And it wasn't until I was Chris Rock, literally in the moment, when I was assaulted by agent Adam Bennett and I chose to be in control, he continued. I chose to hold everything together. It could have descended into chaos. It would have been the end of me. Crews later praised Rock, suggesting that the New Jack City actor saved the industry when he decided not to react after being slapped by Smith for making a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's shaven head. When I look back what Chris did by just deciding to hold everything together, it actually, I think in a lot of ways, saved Hollywood, the actor said. Because if there'd been a brawl on that stage, I don't know if Hollywood would have ever gotten any respect again. No, it's hard to even imagine what would have happened.
Indeed,
Wow.
indeed.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, even going to that last point.
I mean, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree with everything what he said, because if Chris Rock had responded to fought back after that slap, that would have been worse than anything. That would have been worse than him holding back. And I think that's where Terry Crews.
Black on black crime, it would have
Can
been
you
probably
imagine
called.
that? And then Chris Rock's mum coming down the stage. That would have been.
Well, no, she weren't there, but
yeah, if she was there,
yeah.
then that would have been major chaos. Do you know what I'm saying?
Jada jumps in,
and then someone gets knocked out. So you could just think of all the different scenarios that could have happened out of that. But to think Terry Crews actually had an understanding of that, and he was like, yeah, okay, he respects Chris Rock for not retaliating.
They could have said, like, Oscars turns into a cookout.
Yeah.
You know, like the fight in the cookout, you know, black people going nuts.
Yeah, but I think that's a really good thing that he stood up for. He had an understanding of Chris Rock and he respected him for that, for not retaliating back, because that would have been a nightmare on stage in front of millions of people watching.
Yeah, I think to that point, when he says that Chris Rock has pretty much saved Hollywood, when I've just first heard that, I was like, that's a bit over the top. Yeah. Well, is he like Superman or something? He's come, I will save Hollywood. Please save Hollywood because it's on a road to destruction. But I get now, it's settling in my mind. I get what he means, that it could have been it would have been a farce. If Chris had fought back, these are two major talents in Hollywood, it would have been a bad look, particularly because they're both black men. If anyone had a fight, but particularly you've got that extra wrinkle, that extra layer of, to be a black talent in that industry, there's a bit of struggle to work against them. Both men have worked their butts off to get to the level that they were at. It would have tarnished every good thing that they've done because of that one moment. It's already working against Will, and I accept that it's his responsibility. If Chris Rock even Chris Rock just retaliating, he would have been dragged. No one would have said, oh, you're defending yourself. We understand. It would have been, oh, and look how he responded. So he would have not even defended himself. If he'd retaliated, I don't think he would have gotten the grace for that to be understood.
No, he wouldn't have, because you said he would have been dragged. It would be worse if he fought back, if he retaliated.
Yeah.
And then how is that going to look also for black men as well? Black on black, the fight, the mom, if she was there running down the stage to protect her son, it would have been a black problem there. It would have been so bad.
It wouldn't have just been two Hollywood stars having beef. It would have been an executive said something like, I can't remember, actually, I forget that, but alluded to it being almost like a black thing, a street thing, bringing it to such a prestigious event, like thuggery. And I'm like, oh, that's coded, a little bit coded. It's like saying, yeah, you're sort of bringing this riffraff kind of behavior to this prestigious event. And I'm like, dog whistle, anyone? So I think it's good coming from Terry Crews because he's been there. And it's weird because people will insult and tear up Terry Crews when he shared the same story about the agent, the WME agent, saying, oh, look, he's a big man and he just took it like a man. He's a joke. Whereas Chris Rock getting slapped, people will be like, yeah, we did the right thing. I think he did do the right thing. But it's just interesting how people can, but then again, I was going to say how people can be hypocrites, but then if I remember when we went on social media, there were a lot of people who kind of felt Chris Rock could have retaliated. Not a lot, actually, but
there's not a lot. There was a lot, because a lot of sources I read is that I think people respected Chris Rock for not retaliating back. And also, the Academy respected him for that. And
then they're the hypocrites because those people, I'm sure, many on Black Twitter, dragged Terry Crews. He's been dragged for a lot of things, but I think for that particular situation when Adam Vent pretty much groped him, he could have ended Adam Vent's life. If you got punched by Terry Crews and you go down wrong, that guy wouldn't got up again. And I think people would have been like, yeah, because he violated him. But that's the short-term perspective. But the long-term perspective, you'd be hearing about Terry Crews in jail.
Yeah, he would have. His career would have been over. If Terry Crews had retaliated against that, his career would have been over. So for them people to be like, oh, why didn't you do something? Why, you're strong and stuff. Why didn't you retaliate back? But the thing is, if he'd done that, there would be no Terry Crews to this day. So good on you, Terry Crews, for not punching back, not
And listen,
reacting.
self-control.
Yeah.
It ain't like know your situation. We don't necessarily endorse violence, but violence is a way of life to a degree. If somebody physically attacks you, I think there is a place to defend yourself or protect yourself at the very least. I think you need to know the situation, know the room. I think with Terry Crews, he was assaulted, so there's a different perspective that was a situation where it was, though it wasn't in front of a camera and on a world stage, there were enough powerful people in the room where it could have become a situation where he wouldn't have come across as the victim. He would have been come across as the aggressor. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to choose my words. Either way, it's an interesting situation where you have this issue of black men, stereotypes, what would be a natural reaction versus what would be a sensible reaction. And I'm glad that Chris Rock took the sensible reaction. I'm glad that Terry Crews, he must feel a bit of a sense of not just connection to Rock because he had his own sort of experience, but maybe a sense of vindication. Because it's like, well, no, I wasn't a simp. I wasn't a wet blanket. I did, in my situation where I could have been Will, I chose to be Terry.
Yeah, because
I chose to be Chris. I chose to hold it together.
And he chose to do the right thing. His wife said, not hold back, scale back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's a good wife. But it's like he chose to not do violence by retaliating back and just obviously taking it, but obviously he probably knew that he was going to get the punches after and get dragged for that. But it's like, as I said before, if he'd gone the other way, it would have been worse for him. So
claps to
good on you,
Terry
Chris.
Crews' wife.
Yeah.
Because I remember at the time, there were people, I read the comments, people dragged even her
The
saying,
wife.
because she was the one saying, hey, baby, don't kick off because it's not going to go well for you. And people say, no, you listen to your wife and your wife should not let you be disrespected. But people can say that in the moment. It ain't outside the barbershop. It ain't in a bar. This is a position where very seriously powerful people, that are more likely to back up my guy, the perpetrator. And there's a situation where just because a man is big and capable doesn't mean that he can't be a victim, but it also means that because he's big and capable, he's going to be more automatically seen as the aggressor in a court or any situation. And then you're getting dragged and everyone's going, all people come out in the woodwork saying, yeah, he's violent and he's past. And it's like, you got to pick your battles. Chris Rock could have retaliated and gone and hit Will Smith back, but it would have been a kickoff and it would have been the most ridiculous, farcical display that would have been, it would have ended careers. It would have sparked issues about masculinity, black masculinity, the entertainment industry. It would have been so damaging for so many reasons that if you want to have an argument outside the shopping mall or whatever and kick off and fight and then the police come, no one knows who you are. When you've got a massive platform, a massive reputation, every single thing you do has repercussions.
Yeah, because Chris Rock knows he's one of the most top comedians in the industry. If he knows in his head, he's a smart guy. He knows that if he had retaliated back, it would be game over.
Game over, man. Game over.
And then people be dragging him saying, why did he slap? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can imagine all the sort of angles they would have come from.
The draggage.
So the draggage would have been real.
And all Terry Crews, good on you for not throwing any of your brothers, because he's friends with both Will Smith and Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Well done for not throwing them under the bus and not being able to see it from both angles in the sense of you're not trying to be, some people are so moral and self-righteous, sort of coming down on Will, saying, oh, you know, coming down on him, saying, I would never do such a thing. He was such a terrible human being. What he did was obviously, clearly, both what were you thinking, ridiculous, way over the top, and wrong.
Yeah.
Categorically. And I'm glad he's been big enough to accept the consequences of his actions. However, but for the grace of God go I. We've all had moments where we've lost it. I do think he's got mental health challenges at the moment. and that relationship is not particularly healthy, but I won't go too much there. I'm glad that someone has said, someone like Terry Crews, that, yo, I've been that guy.
Yeah.
I've been that guy. I've been in that moment. Let's stop throwing stones. Let's stop acting self-righteous and calling out things. And also he's saying that he's also been Chris Rock, and he's celebrating the fact that Chris Rock was, his choice in that moment has equally had a big impact in the industry, because he de-escalated things when he could have took it into chaos.
Exactly. It could have really gone overboard. I just want to put in that point you said about Terry Crews' wife.
Yeah.
I think she did the right thing, like supporting her husband and saying no, like supporting him as well. Because also, obviously, she would have got dragged, because there would have been many wives that would be like, you know what? You can't just stand there and take that.
Yeah.
Fight back.
Be a man.
Do you know what I mean? Be a man about it. But it's like, obviously, I know Terry Crews is a big guy.
Yeah.
Just because he's got muscles and he's a stench and everything doesn't mean he has to fight back.
Listen, how many police officers can you,
really?
with guns? Because I mean, unlike here in the UK, our police officers only have, worst they have is a taser. How many police officers with guns can your muscles punch your way out of? Not many. I don't think that's so. You can say, oh, you should just kick off. I'm like, yeah. So then what? The police, woo,
Exactly.
Police show up. What happened? That big black guy with the muscles, he assaulted me, or he assaulted him over there. And then, woo, I wasn't, officer. All of a sudden you have a situation, and of course then the news will cover it, and then it's whatever. So, and we know how they target certain types of individuals. So wisdom, man. Okay, if you're at the, like I said, if you're at the barbershop, if you're at the cookout, if you're in the shopping mall, if you're in a situation, if you're Joe Public, I'd still say follow the example of both Chris and Terry, and take the diffuse situation, the non-violent route. But if things do go west, because people are people, when you do that, you ain't going to have the whole world news cycle going over and over and over again. So you can't compare your hot-headed self, who nobody knows, anonymous, to somebody who can fill up whole news cycles because they've got a high profile.
Exactly. When you've got a high profile, you got to, number one, be careful what you say, and be careful what you even do, your actions.
Yeah.
So you can't do that. If you're normal Joe Blogs, you could do the same thing, but then it's not going to be on the news, is it?
Yeah, Joe or Josephine
It's not going to be in
blogs.
any of the sources.
No one cares.
So it's like those two guys, Chris Rock and Terry Crews, I commend you for that.
Yeah, no one cares. But guess what?
No.
We care. We care about your comments. So what do you think? Do you think that Terry Crews is trying to look for an excuse for why he wasn't man enough to stand up against his assault? He's assaulter. Is that a word, an assaulter?
Assaulter?
The
Yeah, I
one
think
who
so.
assaulted him, basically, back in the day, if you remember that story. Do you think that he was good that he listened to his wife, or you think that he should have been showing his masculinity and knocked the stuffing out of the WME agent? Or do you think that he's right to stand with Chris Rock by applauding him for taking, like he did, the non-violent route, setting the example, and also preventing them to be some kind of massive kick-off brawl on a stage between two very high-profile black men, and how damaging that could be, not just for the Hollywood industry that he said, but also black Hollywood? Because let's face it, it would look kind of different if Mel Gibson and Leonardo DiCaprio, just off the top of my head, got into a fight.
Very different.
It's not going to be seen as all of Hollywood or all of white males of a certain generation. But you know, if it was Chris and Will, you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying? So either way, let us know what your thoughts are. I think this could be an interesting conversation, and we're all about the chat. But in the interim, we'll see you next time. Take care. Speak to you soon.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you really enjoyed this video, please subscribe below, where also we have more videos on entertainment, opinion, and chat. You're really going to enjoy it. Also, if you really enjoy it that much, we have a weekly podcast on all platforms. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.